What Goes Around Part 1. The Discover David Morgan stared at his phone, the text messages blurring as tears welled in his eyes. After 12 years of marriage, 3 children, and countless memories, his world was crumbling around him. The evidence was undeniable. Sarah, his wife, was having an affair. It had started with small signs he'd dismissed: late nights at work, new clothes, password changes on her phone. But today, when she'd left her laptop open while taking a shower, a message had popped up that couldn't be ignored. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. M. David's hands trembled as he scrolled through their conversation history. The affair had been going on for 6 months with someone named Michael from her office. Photos, intimate conversations, plans for their future. It was all there. Their suburban Boston home suddenly felt like a prison. The family photos on the walls mocked him. Every happy memory now questioned. Had she been thinking of Michael even then? The shower stopped running. David quickly closed the laptop and retreated to their back porch, needing air and time to think about his next move. Part 2. The confrontation. The kids are at my mother's, David said quietly when Sarah entered the kitchen later that evening. We need to talk. Sarah's face fell as she saw the printed screenshots on the table between them. David, I can explain. 6 months, Sarah. 6 months of lies. His voice remained eerily calm despite the storm raging inside him. With Michael, your work friend, who came to our anniversary dinner, who held our daughter at her birthday party. Sarah sank into a chair, her defenses crumbling. It just happened. We were working late on the Westfield project, and I didn't mean for it to continue, but it did continue. You made that choice every day for half a year. David pushed his chair back. I've already called a lawyer. I want a divorce. Please, she begged, reaching for his hand. Think about the children, about our family. It was a mistake, a 6-month. Mistake isn't a mistake, Sarah. It's a deliberate choice. He pulled his hand away. I deserve better than this. The kids deserve better. Part 3. The aftermath. The following weeks were a blur of lawyer meetings, uncomfortable conversations with family and friends, and heartbreaking discussions with their children, Emma 10, Jake 8, and little Lily 5. David moved into a small apartment nearby to stay close to the kids, while Sarah remained in their family home. At work, David could barely focus. As a high school English teacher, he'd always found solace in literature, but now even his favorite novels offered no escape. His students noticed the change in their normally enthusiastic teacher, and his colleagues walked on eggshells around him. Word spread quickly in their tight-knit community. Some friends chose sides. Others awkwardly distanced themselves from the messy situation. The pain was amplified when David learned that several of their friends had suspected the affair, but remained silent. Sarah, meanwhile, discovered that Michael wasn't interested in a serious relationship once the affair was exposed. He quickly transferred to another branch of their company, leaving her to face the consequences alone. Her perfect life, respected career, beautiful home, loving family was disintegrating, and the guilt became overwhelming. Part 4. The reflection. 3 months after moving out, David sat in a coffee shop grading papers when Elena, another teacher from his school, sat down across from him. You've been avoiding the staff room, she observed, sliding a fresh coffee toward him. David shrugged. Everyone either pities me or wants gossip. Neither feels great, or maybe some people just care. Elena replied gently. She'd gone through her own divorce years earlier. Have you thought about what you want next? The question caught him off guard. He'd been so focused on surviving each day that he hadn't considered a future. I want, he began, surprising himself with sudden clarity. "I want to be happy again. I want my kids to see what healthy love looks like. I want to trust someone again." Elena nodded. All good things to want. But they take time. That evening, David started a journal. Instead of documenting his pain, he wrote about what he was learning, about himself, about resilience, about what he truly valued in relationships. The process was cathartic, turning his betrayal into something meaningful. Part 5. The transformation. As months passed, David established a new routine. He took the kids on weekends, joined a support group for divorced parents, and even started teaching a creative writing workshop in the evenings. His apartment, once a symbol of failure, gradually became a home with children's artwork on the walls and bookshelves filled with new titles. Sarah struggled more visibly. The affair had cost her not just her marriage, but also her reputation and many friendships. After several uncomfortable therapy sessions with David for the sake of co-parenting, she finally took full accountability for her actions without excuses. "I was selfish," she admitted during one session. "I was bored and flattered by the attention, and I convinced myself I deserved more excitement. I never stopped to think about the cost." Her honesty, while too late to save their marriage, marked the beginning of a healthier relationship. As co-parents, David's journal evolved into the draft of a novel, a story about betrayal, forgiveness, and rebuilding. Writing became his therapy, transforming pain into purpose. When he tentatively shared pages with Elena, her encouragement pushed him to continue. Part 6. The unexpected turn. Year after the separation, David received a call from his publisher. Friend who had read his manuscript. "This is powerful stuff, David. Raw and real. We want to publish it." The book deal came with a modest advance, enough for David to put a down payment on a small house closer to the kids' school. The writing process had been healing, but seeing his words in print gave him a new identity beyond the guy whose wife cheated. When the book was published, it received unexpected attention. David's honest portrayal of betrayal and recovery resonated with readers. Local book clubs discussed it, and he was invited to speak at community events. At one such event, a woman approached him after his talk. "Your story helped me forgive myself," she said. "I was the cheater in my marriage. Reading about the pain from the other side, it changed me." David hadn't anticipated this response, that his story might help not just the betrayed, but also those who had made similar mistakes to Sarah. Part 7. The new beginning. 12 years after the discovery of Sarah's affair, David's life had taken shape in ways he couldn't have imagined. His book had become a surprise bestseller in the self-help category. He'd moved to a comfortable home where his children had their own rooms for their stays with him. He'd even started dating again. Cautiously, but optimistically, Sarah had made changes too. After intensive therapy, she'd rebuilt her relationship with the children and found a new job that better aligned with her values. The guilt still haunted her, but she was learning to be a better person from her mistakes. One Saturday morning, while dropping off the kids at Sarah's house, David noticed she seemed nervous. "Everything okay?" he asked. "I wanted to tell you before anyone else," she said. "I've been offered a job in Chicago." David felt an unexpected pang. Despite everything, the thought of his children moving away hurt deeply. "But I turned it down," Sarah continued. "The kids need both of us. And I need to keep making amends, even if you never fully forgive me." It was the most selfless thing she'd done since their marriage ended. "Thank you," David said quietly. "That means a lot." On the drive home, David realized something had shifted. The anger that had been his constant companion was fading, replaced by something he hadn't expected. Peace. Part 8. The full circle. That evening, Elena came over to help David prepare for an upcoming book tour. They'd grown close over the past year, their friendship carefully evolving into something more. "The publisher wants me to write a follow-up," David told her as they organized his notes. "About rebuilding after betrayal, and—" "Will you?" Elena asked, her eyes meeting his. David smiled. "I think so. But this one has a happier ending," as if on cue. His phone chimed with a text from Sarah with pictures of the kids at their science fair. They'd won second place with their project on butterfly metamorphosis, a transformation from one form to another, becoming something entirely new. "You know," David said, showing Elena the photos, "2 years ago, I thought my life was over. Now I realize it was just beginning." Later that night, after Elena had gone home, David sat on his porch looking at the stars. The pain hadn't disappeared completely. It probably never would, but it had reshaped him rather than defined him. His children were thriving with parents who had learned difficult lessons about honesty and respect. His career had taken an unexpected and fulfilling turn, and most surprisingly, his heart had healed enough to let someone new in someone who valued transparency and commitment the way he did. David opened his journal and wrote, "Sometimes the greatest betrayals lead us exactly where we need to be. Not because they weren't painful, but because they force us to rebuild with stronger foundations. What goes around comes around, not always as karma or revenge, but sometimes as unexpected happiness born from our deepest wounds." As he closed the journal, David realized the title of his next book was already clear. What goes around, not a story of revenge, but of how life has a way of bringing us full circle to where we're meant to be, often through the paths we would never have chosen for ourselves. Epilogue. A year later, David stood in the backyard of his home, surrounded by friends and family. Emma, now 13, helped Lily adjust the flowers in her hair, while Jake carried the rings with solemn importance. Elena appeared in the doorway, radiant in a simple white dress. Their eyes met across the gathering, and David felt a certainty he'd once thought impossible to feel again. Sarah sat in the second row beside her new friend James. She caught David's eye and gave him a genuine smile, one free of the guilt and regret that had dominated their interactions for so long. They had found their way to a respectful friendship for the sake of their children, something neither had imagined possible during those dark, early days. As Elena joined him under the flower-covered arch, David thought about the journey that had brought them here. The betrayal that had felt like an ending had actually been the painful beginning of a better chapter, one with more honesty, more appreciation, and more intentional love. The officiant began. "We gather today to celebrate not just love, but resilience, the kind that turns life's biggest challenges into its greatest blessings." David squeezed Elena's hands, overwhelmed with gratitude for the happiness he'd never seen coming, the kind that arrives unexpectedly after weathering life's most difficult storms. What goes around comes around indeed, sometimes in the form of second chances we never knew to hope for.